With the launch of Star Wars Hunters finally being upon us, I've seen countless comments saying that the game is pay to win, but most of these comments are coming from people who know absolutely nothing about the game, because they probably forgot about it after the near 3.5 years we've had to wait since its initial reveal to the launch of the game, or they just hate on mobile games because they're typically pay to win, which I totally understand. I mean, if you look at Galaxy of Heroes, that is just ridiculous. But in this video, I just wanted to talk briefly about why Star Wars Hunters is not actually a pay-to-win game, to hopefully put a lot of people's minds at ease. But before I get into it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on to stay fully up to date with all things Star Wars Hunters. I've been playing this game since it soft launched in November 2021, so I like to think I know quite a lot about it, so make sure you don't miss out. So to start off with, what is the definition of pay to win? Well, quite simply, it is to pay real life money in a game in order to gain an unfair competitive advantage over someone else. Now, if you look at Galaxy of Heroes, as I just mentioned, you can pay hundreds of pounds and basically take your characters in the game from 0 to 100 very quickly, which means you've essentially just paid for your characters to be insane. And then if you look at Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well, during the game's early access release for the Elite Trooper Deluxe Edition, there was essentially the loot box system in the game, which meant that you could spend real money to open these crates with a chance of getting better star cards or upgrades for them. So you could just sit there and spend, again, hundreds of pounds to essentially max out all of your characters pretty quickly, which would then obviously gain you an advantage over everyone else until they had either unlocked them themselves or are then paid to get those upgrades. Now, those systems are obviously not very good. In mobile gaming, you see it a lot more than console gaming, which is very unfortunate, especially when it comes to something like Star Wars. I'd never want to see that happen. But with Galaxy of Heroes, it's just too far gone at this point, so I tend to try and ignore it. And you can just play the game for free anyway, but it just will take you so much longer to get anywhere with it. But moving back onto Star Wars Hunters, the only possible way that people could say this game is pay to win is because you can pay real money to unlock new hunters. Now, you cannot buy anything in order to progress the hunter's abilities. They do get upgraded as time goes by, but that is simply by you leveling up the character, and you cannot do that by any means of purchase. You have to simply play as them, or you can unlock hunter fame grants via events and other things, but you cannot pay for them. So in terms of progressing an actual hunter's abilities and making them stronger, there is no pay-to-win system there whatsoever, which is great. But then as for unlocking hunters as well, there are a number of ways you can do it. Let's say you're starting off with a brand new account. I don't know how many hunters you have unlocked at the start because it's changed quite a few times throughout the soft launch. But in order to unlock a new hunter, you can either pay for them via 1,000 crystals, which is the premium currency in the game, which means you can pay about £8 and unlock that hunter then and there. Now, that does sound like it could be pay to win, but with my vast experience with the game, honestly, it's just not. No one hunter gives you a competitive advantage over anyone else, because that ultimately does come down to the game balancing. At the moment, Scorer and Sentinel are pretty overpowered, but it's not like they're unkillable. It's just that they are the best hunters right now. But paying to buy Sentinel, for example, with 1,000 crystals doesn't put you at a competitive advantage over anyone else, because the other team, for example, could also have a Sentinel at that point as well. Or even if they don't, it doesn't require Sentinel in order to win a game. And at the end of the day, it's not like there are going to be 4 Sentinels on a team, because you can only have 1 of each character per side. So you genuinely are not at an advantage if you spent 1,000 crystals to buy Sentinel, for example. Now, the other way you can unlock hunters is via hunter tokens, which, because I've had all of them unlocked anyway, I don't know how it works fully. But my brother didn't have Char before this latest March 26th update earlier this year, which is when they introduced this new system. And all he had to do was play 16 games of hunters, and then unlocked him enough hunter tokens in order to pay for Char for free. So all he had to do was just play a small amount of games, and he's unlocked a new hunter, and that is the same for every single hunter. If you start off with like 4 hunters at the beginning, which is just a guess, I don't actually know the full number, but if you started off with 4, you'd have 8 to unlock as it stands now, but probably 10 when the game fully launches. So within a select number of games, if it is 16 for each hunter, then you'd have to play 160 games, which sure is a lot, but that is so easily doable, and games only last anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes anyway, so it's not like a Battlefront game that lasts 10 to 20. So for me personally, I think it's a perfectly manageable system. Obviously, I'd rather have it where you don't necessarily have to pay anything in order to unlock hunters, but regardless of that, the important thing to really state is that it is not a pay-to-win system. As I've said plenty of times already, you are not paying to gain an advantage over anyone else. If you buy Sentinel, for example, he's not going to necessarily be better than anyone else's, because he will start off at level 1. So at launch, someone could buy Sentinel, for example, for 1000 crystals, start off at level 1, and come up against my Sentinel, who is already level 25, which is the max level. So my Sentinel is already just going to be better than theirs, simply because I've been playing the game for longer. I appreciate this may not necessarily have been the most convincing argument on the topic of the game not being pay to win, but I genuinely don't really know how much more I can say. It genuinely is not a pay to win system. You don't gain an advantage over anyone else if you spend real money, you just unlock the hunters faster, and a lot of people who have been playing this soft launch have been seeing these pay to win comments and disputing them themselves as well, so I'm not the only one who shares this opinion. And if you think it's pay to win even after watching this video, then I urge you very much to just play the game for yourself when it launches on June 4th, so that you can actually form a reliable opinion for yourself, rather than just taking someone else's word for it, or thinking it's a mobile game, it must be pay to win, because that really isn't the case. But I am going to call it a day there though. Let me know what you think about this all in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Star Wars Hunters content. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.